Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at this XPrompt research paper.
Very cool.
Yeah, so this is all about AI image generation,
Yeah.
and specifically like a new approach,
Okay.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so what makes this one stand out from all the other like AI image generators that are out there?
Well, you hear about these AI image generators all the time, right?
Right.
But this one is interesting because it's trying to solve a problem with um, how AI models learn
Oh, interesting.
and how they learn from examples.
Okay.
So, like how we, as humans, when we're trying to learn something new, we might watch somebody else do it,
Right.
or we might look at examples of it.
Yeah.
They're trying to get AI to do that.
Okay, so like in context learning.
Yeah, like in context learning.
Gotcha.
And it's been kind of tough to do with um, AI models in the past.
So is this kind of like a response to maybe some of the limitations of like diffusion models?
Yeah, so you've got these diffusion models, right? Stable diffusion,
Yeah.
right? Which are great at generating images.
Yeah.
But they're not so good at this whole like learning from examples thing.
Right, they're kind of like purpose built for one specific
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Right, and then you have to kind of retrain them over and over.
Exactly. Yeah. And they've tried to like, bridge this gap between diffusion models
Right.
and large language models or LLMs.
Yeah.
But it's been tricky to do that and still preserve all the detail in the image.
Right.
So this X prompt is built on this foundation model called Chameleon.
Okay, I've heard some buzz about Chameleon. What is that all about?
Yeah. So Chameleon is interesting because it uses this thing called unified image tokens,
Okay.
and it directly predicts image features, which makes it better suited for this whole in-context learning.
So instead of like working with the pixels directly, it's working with these tokens that represent features and relationships.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like giving the AI model a higher level understanding of the image
God.
rather than just like, messing with pixels.
Right.
And XPrompt takes this even further
Okay.
by addressing this challenge of long context lengths.
Context links. What is that all about?
Well, because image data,
Yeah.
like a single image can require thousands of these tokens
Oh, wow.
to represent all the details, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do this in-context learning with like multiple example images,
Yeah.
it gets really computationally expensive.
Okay. So it would just take forever to train the model.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it'd be really difficult to manage.
Gotcha.
So XPrompt has this clever solution where it compresses the information
Okay.
from those example images into a shorter sequence of tokens.
Ah, interesting.
So it's kind of like creating this super efficient summary
Yeah.
of those examples, allowing the model to learn from them without getting bogged down
Right.
by all that data.
Okay, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
So it can handle these really complex images and tasks because of this compression.
Right. And
Yeah.
and you know, it's not just about generating images.
Yeah.
It's also trained to describe the differences between images
Yeah.
using text.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so like
So it can actually like talk about what it's doing.
in a way, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So it's like it's developing this deeper understanding
Right.
of visual changes
That's
by
fascinating.
being able to describe them in words.
Yeah.
It's not just copying pixels, it's actually learning like concept.
Right, the underlying concepts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then to make things even more interesting, they use this technique called task reversion augmentation.
Task reversion augmentation. I've
Yeah.
never heard of that.
Yeah. So it's like, if you're training the model to remove rain from an image,
Okay.
you also train it to add rain to an image.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like learning both sides of the concept.
So like by learning to do and undo something, it really kind of solidifies that concept in its understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. It gets us a deeper understanding of what rain is,
Right.
And that leads to like better results overall.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So, we've been talking about like the how of X prompt,
Right.
but what about the what? Like what kind of tasks can this thing actually do?
Yeah, let's dive into that.
So it can do, the usual text to image generation,
Okay.
but it can also do image editing,
Oh, cool.
dense prediction tasks like
Oh.
depth estimation,
Okay.
segmentation,
Wow.
and even low-level vision tasks like denoising and deblurring.
So it's like the Swiss Army knife of image processing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And what's really amazing is that it achieves competitive results across all these tasks.
Really?
Yeah, even compared to models that are specifically designed for each individual task.
Wow. So it's not just like, okay, at all these things, it's actually like really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's impressive.
And that kind of speaks to the power power of this whole general approach and in-context learning. Right, because it's not being trained for one specific thing, it's learning how to learn, and that makes it much more flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. So there's this other thing called REE,
RE.
which stands for Retrieval Augmented Image Editing.
Okay.
And this is a technique where XPrompt uses a database of similar examples to guide its editing process.
Okay, so like it's got this reference library that it can pull from.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting. So how does that actually work in practice?
So let's say you want to replace a car in a photo with a bicycle.
Okay.
RAIE would search for similar examples of car-to-bicycle replacements
Okay.
and use those as like a visual reference
Gotcha.
to make the edit more accurate and consistent.
So it's like giving it a visual dictionary to learn from.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So what makes this RAIE technique so effective, and why is it a good fit for XPrompt specifically? It's all about those examples. XPrompt's really good at learning from examples.
Right.
And with RAIE, it can analyze these visual references, like you said, it's like a visual dictionary, and pull out the important information to make those edits.
Okay, so it's not just like blindly swapping pixels, it's actually understanding the context.
Exactly. And that's what makes RAIE so effective with XPrompt.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But one thing that really blew my mind in this paper was this idea of novel task generalization.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
It sounds like something out of science fiction, like teaching this AI completely new tricks.
It kind of is. It's all about pushing the boundaries of in-context learning.
Okay, so we're talking about XPrompt learning things it's never seen before just by looking at a few examples.
Exactly. They tested this by leaving out certain tasks from its training data.
So like what kind of tasks are we talking about here?
Well, things like low light enhancement, for example,
Huh?
adding or removing objects from a scene,
Yeah.
and even applying a new color palette to a depth map.
Hold on a second. Applying a new color palette to a depth map, that sounds pretty specific.
It is. It's like, imagine you have a depth map where closer objects are darker, farther objects are lighter.
Right. Usually it's just grayscale.
Exactly. But what if you wanted to visualize that depth information using colors instead?
Oh, okay, I see.
That's the kind of thing they tested,
An XPrompt could actually do that.
with impressive results.
Just from a few examples. That's crazy.
It is pretty remarkable. They also compared XPrompt to another model called Omnigen,
Okay.
which also tries to do in-context learning, but Omnigen really struggled with these longer context lengths.
Right. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, it couldn't quite handle these novel tasks, especially the ones with more complex image manipulation.
So XPrompt was the clear winner here.
Definitely, it was much better at adapting and generalizing, even with limited examples.
It's like XPrompt is a quick learner, while the other models are still struggling with the basics.
Pretty much.
So this whole novel task generalization thing really opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yep.
But the paper also touched on some more creative applications, like style personalization and action preservation.
Oh, yeah, those are really cool too.
So style personalization, I'm thinking things like graphic design, advertising, even art creation.
Exactly. Imagine taking a simple photo and transforming it into like a Van Gogh painting
Whoa, that would be amazing.
or a vintage Art Deco poster.
So it's like having a whole library of artistic styles at your fingertips.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't need massive data sets of images for each style.
That's the cool part, just a few examples. And XPrompt can start applying those styles to new images.
Exactly. It's really impressive.
And then there's action preservation, which sounds like it could be the foundation for some crazy new animation technology.
You're getting it. Remember those examples they used of people dancing or jumping?
Yeah.
XPrompt was able to learn the essence of those actions, pose the movement,
Yeah.
and then apply that to a completely different person just from a text description.
So you're telling me I could describe like a superhero striking a pose, and XPrompt could generate an image of that, even though it's never seen that character before.
Well, exactly. It's like giving creators superpowers.
That's mind-blowing. The potential for animation game design, even VR, is huge.
It is. Imagine creating realistic animations without motion capture or frame-by-frame animation.
That would be a game changer. But with all this power comes some potential downsides, right?
Of course, any powerful technology can be misused.
Like, what if people start creating super realistic deepfakes or spreading misinformation with manipulated images?
Those are definitely concerns we need to be aware of.
It's a double-edged sword.
Definitely, on one hand, you have all this creative potential and efficiency.
Right. But on the other hand, there's the risk of malicious use and disinformation.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to have open discussions about the ethical implications.
And develop safeguards? Promote responsible use? address potential biases in the training data.
All of that is crucial.
It's a responsibility that falls on everyone, researchers, developers, even users.
Absolutely, we all need to play a part in shaping the future of AI.
Well said. So this whole idea of X-prompt learning from limited examples really seems like a big step towards more human-like AI.
It is, doesn't it?
Like we're so good at learning new things from just a few examples, often without explicit instructions.
Right, we can infer, adapt, generalize based on context in ways that AI has struggled with.
It's like we have this innate ability to connect the dots, see the bigger picture, and apply knowledge flexibly.
And X-prompt seems to be tapping into that same kind of fluid intelligence.
It's pretty amazing to think about. It makes you wonder, what other creative tasks could we teach AI models now that tools like X-prompt are emerging?
The possibilities are endless. We've talked about art, design, animation, but what about music composition writing, even problem solving?
Imagine giving X-prompt some examples of a musical style or a writing genre.
And it can start creating original pieces in those styles.
Yeah, it would be incredible. The potential for collaboration between humans and AI is huge.
It really is. It's like we're on the cusp of a creative renaissance fueled by AI.
But it also raises some interesting questions about what it means to be creative.
Right. If AI can create art music literature that rivals human creations, what does that say about our own creativity?
Those are some deep questions.
They are. It's not just about the technology, it's about what it means for humanity.
It's a journey of exploration and discovery, both technological and philosophical.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on the practical applications of X-prompt beyond the creative realm.
Okay.
We've talked about its potential in graphic design and animation, but what about fields like healthcare engineering education?
Oh, there are so many possibilities there too. Imagine X-prompt analyzing medical images.
Detecting anomalies in X-rays.
Exactly, or designing more efficient structures in engineering.
Optimizing the design of bridges.
Or even personalizing learning experiences in education.
Creating interactive simulations for history lessons.
It's all about adapting and applying those core capabilities of X-prompt to different domains.
The potential is really exciting.
It is. X-prompt's ability to learn from limited examples could revolutionize almost every industry.
That's a powerful thought. But we'll have to pause our exploration there for now.
Okay.
Be sure to join us for the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we'll be exploring some real-world examples of X-prompt in action.
And discussing the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for this groundbreaking technology. Welcome back to the show. We've spent the last two parts talking about X-prompt and all its potential.
And I think we're both pretty impressed.
Definitely. But now I'm curious to see some real-world examples.
Yeah, how is this stuff actually being used out there?
Right, like moving beyond the theory and into practice.
Exactly.
Well, one area where X-prompt is already making waves is personalized advertising.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we talked about its ability to personalize styles and actions, right?
Right.
It seems like a perfect fit for creating targeted ads that really resonate with people.
Absolutely. Imagine a company wants to connect with different types of customers, like hikers or basketball players.
Right.
Instead of using generic stock photos, they could use X-prompt to generate images of people from different backgrounds using their products.
Yeah, and make those images feel more authentic and relatable.
Exactly. It's all about making ads feel more personal.
Right, because who wants to see another cheesy stock photo?
Nobody. People want to see themselves reflected in the ads they see.
And that personal touch can lead to better results for the company.
Absolutely. It's a win-win.
And it's not just advertising. X-prompt is also showing a lot of promise in education.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
I know, right?
Eh.
It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Not really. So how would that work?
Well, imagine you're a teacher trying to bring a history lesson to life.
Okay.
Instead of just textbooks and static images, you could use X-prompt to create immersive experiences.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine taking students on a virtual tour of ancient Rome.
Wow, that would be incredible.
I know, right? They could interact with historical figures, maybe even participate in events.
It's like stepping back in time.
Exactly. And the beauty of X-prompt is that it can be adapted to all sorts of subjects and learning styles.
Right. You could create personalized science simulations, bring literary characters to life.
Even generate interactive art projects.
The possibilities are endless.
It really sounds like X-prompt could revolutionize education.
Definitely. It has that potential. But as with any new tech, there are bound to be challenges.
Right, like what kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, for one thing, computational power.
Yeah. Processing and generating all those high-res images Takes a lot of computing muscle.
Exactly, and that can be expensive, which limits accessibility for some.
Right. Not everyone has access to a supercomputer in their basement.
And then there's the issue of data bias.
Ah, yes, the elephant in the room with any AI.
We've seen how AI models can pick up biases from the data they're trained on.
And those biases can then be reflected in the output.
Exactly, and that's something we need to be very careful about.
Absolutely. We need to make sure the training data is diverse, inclusive, and representative of the real world.
It's like raising a child. You want to expose them to a wide range of perspectives.
That's a great analogy. And of course, we can't forget about the potential for misuse.
Yeah, those deepfakes and misinformation campaigns we talked about.
It's a sobering reminder that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
It all comes down to human choices.
Well said. So, despite all these challenges, do you think the potential benefits of X-Prompt outweigh the risks?
I do. I think it offers incredible opportunities for creativity, efficiency, and personalization.
But we need to be mindful of the ethical implications.
Absolutely. Responsible development and use are crucial.
We need to think about the impact on society, both positive and negative.
And work together to ensure that AI empowers us rather than diminishes us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, it's been an incredible journey exploring the world of X-Prompt.
It really has.
I hope our listeners are as excited about the possibilities as we are.
Me too. It's a fascinating field, and there's so much more to discover.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep learning, and let's see what amazing things we can create with AI.
It's hardly a future.